Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Tristan Kumar invites you to put your hands together for the one, the only Dying Planet, the Prison of the Survivors. Part 17, The Breaking Point. The plane wheels touched the ground and we all shook. We exited the plane and went to the workshop with Sylvie. A giant box was inside, and once we opened it, it was, of course, a scorpion we had ordered to transport on the plane. I turned on the television and saw that the mayor of Las Vegas, Denzel Thorne. He was giving a speech down the road at the Luxor in front of the Black Pyramid. Good afternoon, Las Vegas. Hope that you all are enjoying yourselves thoroughly, but we come to you today for a quick announcement. Sylvie and I sat down in front of the TV and turned up the volume. Recently, a man that goes by the name of Alexander, more commonly known Yuri Baranova, was killed. He fell from the Bellagio's towers and later died from his injuries. But seen on the night of his murder was a man, more likely a child, standing in the Bellagio's open windows. The screen cut to a camera of the Bellagio's tower exploding and a man flung out of it onto the ground. They soared to the ground, The screen cut to a camera of the Bellagio's tower exploding and a man flung out of it. They soared to the ground and smashed into the car and onto the road. I looked away as Sylvie looked at me. The camera shot up to the smoky tower and showed a person standing in the window who suddenly turned around. The camera froze and zoomed in on the person. It was me, of course. "What?" Sylvie said. "You did that?" Later sources found that the murderer was no other than the famous scientist known as Rye. Rye later went to prison for his involvement in the crime, but he still proceeds to live out on the streets to this day with no further punishment. This is an announcement of the people's request for the public arrest and trial of Rye. The citywide search has commenced now, and watch out for this murderer. The TV shut off, and Sylvie stared at me. "Had to handle things? I thought you said no more secrets," she said angrily. "No, listen, some guy got some dirt on us, and I tried to explain, but someone started banging on the door. "Open up, Rye. We know you're in there," the muffled voice said. I ran to the back room and opened the window. The wind blew me back. I went and grabbed a bag from the table and put it on. "Open up," they yelled from outside. "Where are you going now?" Sylvie yelled as I looked out the window. "Out of here. I'm going to give you some time before they figure out that you're involved in this too. Finish the scorpion and start the process. We need this to work. Got it?" I said as I began to walk onto the ledge outside the golden windows. "Okay, fine, go. Also, be careful," she said. I nodded and closed the window from outside. She ran to the next room as they busted open the door. They started to shoot through the window when they saw me. I grabbed a grappling gun from my bag and shot up to the roof. Don't ask me how I got it. I needed it. I started to fly upwards as the cop tried to shoot me. I ran up the building and climbed up to the top. I looked around and then looked down. The cops ran back inside the building to catch me at the top. I reached into my bag and zipped up a wingsuit around my body. I stepped back from the edge and leaped off. I dived down to the ground, then spread out my arms as I started to control the air below me. I tried to go up and eventually did. I was calmly flying away from the hotel when I saw a sniper in another building. He shot at my wing and I started to soar to the ground. I gasped as I soared towards the Las Vegas Strip as a runway. I started to speed up, and at the last second, I pulled up and came to the ground. Something caught my foot, sadly, and I tripped and fell over in the middle of the street. My skin scraped all along the street, causing scratches, but I couldn't worry about that right now. Cars screeched to a stop in front of my eyes as I stood up. I unzipped the wingsuit quickly and looked down the road. An army of cop cars were racing down the road to me. I turned the other way, and there were more cars. I bent down and slid on a bulletproof vest. There was no way that I could dodge every single bullet. "Get out of here!" I yelled at the bystanders looking at me when I reached into my bag and pulled out a pistol. I didn't want to do this, but something drove me forward. I slid the pistol into my holsters as people began to run away. The cops were getting closer. I pulled out an automatic rifle that I had bought earlier and pulled my head under a strap. I also clipped some grenades onto my belt and knelt in front of a stalled car. I took a deep breath into the cool air in the shadows of the tall buildings. Even though it was Las Vegas, it felt so cold. I was so fed up with people trying to accuse me of failure and then finally reached my breaking point. The car screeched to a stop and the cops came out and started to fire at my car. I peeked over and slammed my gun into the hood of the car. I started to slay the cops, one by one. They all bit the dust and fell to the ground. I ran out of ammunition in my automatic rifle, so I threw a grenade over my head and jumped over the car after it exploded. I pulled out my pistol and shot one, then spun around and punched another. I emptied my rounds quickly into the next couple of cops. Then I ran out. I ran up to a cop and grabbed his arm and slammed my knee into it, breaking it. He fell to the ground in pain. I ran up to 2 more cops and dodged their bullets, which I said I really couldn't do, but still, I kicked them both. I looked around at the people looking at me after standing in the army of dead cops. They suddenly all fell to the ground. They started to jerk their heads to the side and started running at me. I ran to a cop car and started the engine. I drove through the crowd as they jumped onto the window, blocking my view. It was just like the same neighborhood. They were all controlled by something, trying to attack me. I reached into the glove compartment on the side and grabbed a gun and shot through the windshield as I fell off one by one. I raced to the Bellagio where the mayor had made his speech. I drove the car right to the front entrance and got out and shot 2 more guards outside. I ran up inside and went up the stairs to the tower at the top. It was empty. There was a chair that was turned facing the window, which was under construction because I had blown it up. There was a nameplate on the table that read Mayor Denzel Thorne. I pointed my gun at it and yelled, "Turn around, now!" It slowly spun around and revealed the mayor with tape on his mouth. He was weak and very scared of something. Suddenly, the elevator door opened from behind me, and I heard someone unsheath his sword, and I turned around. A glowing knife flew toward me as I ducked. I tried to catch it as I ducked, but I missed it, and it flew into the mayor's chest. He looked at me, and his head went limp. He dissolved to ash somehow. I stood up and turned around. I shot at the person. The bullets stopped in front of them. The person hit the bullets off to the side as I saw a black skull mask, the same one from the Thanatos a lifetime ago. "You? Who are you?" I asked. "You're good with guns," he said, and I nodded. "Try this." He pulled out a sword and threw it at me. I sat down all my guns and grenades and held the sword. He started to run toward me and sliced at me. I ducked and hit the blade so it flew back. We recentered and went at it again. Every time I attacked a second and always ended up in the same position as before. I had to be better. One time I attacked first, but dodged his counterattack and went behind him and put it against his neck. He turned around and I flicked off his mask. It was Jamal, the Dark King. "I was surprised that you'd be that offensive, Rai," he said as the world dissolved away. I gasped. We started to walk around in the void-like place. "Are you jealous of my gun skills?" I asked, mocking him. "No? Well, kinda. You just kinda killed everyone. I didn't expect that," he said as the world started to form around us once more. "I thought I was going to meet you tomorrow at some convention or something," I said. "Well, things have changed. I wanted to see everything that you could do before I met you formally," he said. "Come on, I've been to space and fought a giant monster. I'm not that bad at combat," I said, but he looked scared. "Do you believe that?" he asked us as the room fully formed around us. We were in a luxury theater with the screen off and the lights on. "Yeah, what do you mean is that what I believe? I lived through it," I said, getting nervous. "Listen, if you think about it," he explained, "everything that you've been through has been fake. Listen to yourself. You fought off a giant alien in a spaceship with technology that is more advanced than the technology 20 years from then? What do you talk?" I tried to ask. No. If you think that I know nothing about you, I know everything about you. I know all the pain that you've been through. I know all the suffering you've had to endure. I know all of that," he said as I stared at him in fear. "That's impossible. You don't know who I am," I said. "I know that you woke up in a place and met General Aaron Rodgers, and he told you that your scenario has happened, 576 times or something, and you just believe him just like that? Wow. I know you are trying to believe that your entire life is perfectly fine, although we both know it isn't. Everything you try to do will get people hurt. You're angry. You're uncontrollable. Everything that you have been through is a lie. You're just another character in a book that always had bad endings. You are nothing compared to the power that you can hold. I also knew that in the entirety of your life, you would never believe in yourself, that you're never good enough, and that the people that you love will never look at you the same way again after the things that you will do." "Stop! What do you mean the things that I will do? I haven't done anything wrong." "Wait," I realized. "You know that if I try to duplicate the Scorpion, there will be chaos, and the only way you know that is because I stuttered slowly, realizing things as they fell into place. "I know that you never can do enough. I know that you were never good enough in that pathetic school of yours, and that when you bury people, you don't want to cry, because you think it's your fault that they are dead. I know all of this because If you think about it hard enough, you were the most important person in my life. You've already told me all of this. And that's because we are friends. I stared at him in shock. We were never friends. I don't even know you, I said. Well, of course you will remember. When I was a boy, my parents were taken from me. I learned to grow through the harsh pain. Even after being kicked in the face, I persevered. Then, I met you. You wanted to help me, but they took me away from you, my only friend. Who? I asked. The president. He took one look at me, and with no remorse, he threw me at scientists, and they taught me, trained me, beaten me, and toughened me up enough to become a deadly, killing super soldier that can move through time and realities. At age 14, I was preparing to enter the convention for the first time, the main hub of transportation through time. I looked back at the school, and I saw you. You were being bullied and beaten down to your knees. I was in the air, and I couldn't help you. I tried to escape, but I was transported to the convention. I always wanted to come back to you, and now I finally found you. You were the one who I found could change me. I wasn't a killing machine when I found you. I finally felt like I could do something for you. Like you saw me as a human. But I learned that I couldn't immediately follow you. I took some DNA tests and found out that my DNA was mixed with a man named Oscar who had died years ago. With the boy named Oscar killed in the name of advancement for me, I was enraged. I hunted down the scum that killed the child and brutally ended it all. Then, I found you. You've been chasing someone that doesn't even know you, I said, feeling pity. Exactly. When I first saw you in the neighborhood, you looked different, brutal, enraged by something or yourself. I knew that the experiments by the people from my universe had succeeded, that I would never find the same people. I decided to find the difference between you and the child I knew years ago. You aren't really that different, he laughed. But I decided that with all your power and intellectual genius, we could help each other. You could return me to my universe to end extra-dimensional travel, and I could save yours. What do you mean, save mine? What's going to happen? I asked. I don't really know, but we can save each other. The underdogs versus the greedy idiots at the top want everything and everyone for themselves. Classic. So, what do you say? He asked me as he held out his hand for me to shake it. Well, I have to do something in my universe first, but I can help you, I said as I shook his hand. He chuckled. The theater fell apart as we were transported to the hotel in Las Vegas. It wasn't destroyed, and Sylvie was on the couch. Dale, Jamal said as he put down his hand, and Sylvie stood up and stared at us both. Where the hell have you been? And who is this? Sylvie said angrily. This is Jamal. Jamal, this is, I explained. Sylvie, I know. I've heard all about her when researching you, he finished, and I nodded. What the, she started. Listen, I'll explain later. Where's the Scorpion? I asked. I followed her to the big wooden crate in the garage. We cracked it open, and the Scorpion was still there. Jamal looked in and nodded. Pretty cool, huh? I asked. He nodded back. All right, let's get this duplication process started, right? Sylvie said. Right. We duplicate it and we can solve any problem, we continued. But little did I know that Jamal was staring at the Scorpion's eyes with curiosity, and suddenly shot open his eyes, as if he were scared of it, or like he knew something that we didn't. Something that would be crucial to everybody's success. This episode was narrated by Tristan Kumar. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to check out the next part in Dying Planet, The Prison of the Survivors. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.